Noah is our firstborn child. He's 9 years of age, and he was a perfectly healthy baby boy when he was born. And at 6 months of age, he suffered his first seizure. We knew something was wrong. He was in a bouncer, and he stopped, had a glazed over look in his eye. Didn't seem like he was really with us, but his feet were twitching, and we knew something was wrong. Fortunately, he came out of it pretty quickly. They ran some tests, and they attributed it to probably being a febrile seizure. So we had hopes that it was a fluke occurrence and we wouldn't see it again. About 4 weeks after that, Noah suffered a longer seizure. He woke up from a nap, and shortly thereafter, he went into a complete tonic-clonic seizure. It lasted about 10 minutes when the ambulance arrived. He was still in seizure activity when the ambulance took him to the hospital. We followed the ambulance to the hospital, and he was still in seizure activity for approximately another 10 more minutes. After he came out, they decided to run a battery of tests again, and yet they could not find any answers. So we went on for a number of years with Noah, knowing that he suffered from seemingly some type of intractable epilepsy or seizure disorder without it being officially diagnosed. He finally was officially diagnosed at 5 years of age with Dravet syndrome. Dravet syndrome is a very rare and catastrophic seizure disorder. And after we got that official diagnosis, it changed our course of treatment with medicines. However, medicine options are very limited for intractable epilepsy, and we had exhausted all of our medical options and still did not have very good control of the seizures. At that point, we witnessed a show on TV that involved Charlotte Figge, a little girl in Colorado who also suffers from Dravet syndrome. We watched the show and we thought maybe this is something that could give us hope for Noah as well. So we started seeking out potential CBD treatment. We were informed that there was an individual in Peru, Indiana, that our family happened to know, and my mom contacted him. He was very interested in studying and researching CBD and growing strains of CBD. He proceeded to do so, and that's when we started Noah on an initial strain of CBD, and we immediately saw changes, better changes than we had witnessed since the seizures began when Noah was 6 months of age. It was miraculous. And for us, it changed our lifestyle. It gave Noah a different quality of life that we didn't know was possible. It gave him a different quality of life that the doctors never thought that he'd see. We were astonished. We continued with the CBD treatment, and we continued to see further progress with speech and language development, with his motor skills, with his daily activities. In all areas of his life, his quality of life has greatly improved. He now can enjoy experiences with the family. He doesn't have to be excluded. His seizure activity has dropped 80% from the addition of CBD oil.
Okay, when you look at the difference between the two, and the difference in our own lives from the time before Joe was taking CBD to the time now, it's just stunning. You go from living in constant fear of your child being hurt. You know, your most basic desire as a parent is you want your kid to be safe all the time. And with that cocktail of medicines he was on, you couldn't guarantee that safety. He was still falling on his face hundreds of times a day. You didn't know if any of those drugs were going to react in an unknown way. You know, there's never been a study for 6 different medications on a 4-year-old. That just doesn't happen. They study one drug at a time. Sometimes they might study 2, but once you're beyond that, it's out the window, and you're just gambling that it's not going to have a terrible reaction. So the difference, I mean, now we can live a normal life. Joe can go to school. Carrie and I don't have to hover over him 24/7 to make sure he's safe. It's just stunning, the difference between the two situations.
If you've tried all this medication and it's not helping, then like what's to lose at this point? I mean, people have their kids on do not resuscitate orders for the doctor, because a seizure can kill you anytime. I don't think people like really realize that. And I really didn't realize that before this is a part of our life, you know. I'm like, oh, somebody has a seizure and then they get medicine and then they're fine and then they have another one. But you don't see the toll that it takes on your body, on your brain, from the seizures and from the drugs.
And on the family.
And on the family, yeah. I mean, it's just heartbreaking. I mean, you just can't imagine. I don't even want to say it, but I mean, you're kind of watching your child die. Every time it happens, and every medicine that you give them, and then you wonder, what am I doing? I'm hurting their development. What am I doing to my child? This is awful. What are these doctors instructing me to do to my child? I mean, this is not something we just did on our own. You know, we were instructed by some of the best doctors in the country to do what we were doing. And it was kind of, when we found out about CBD, it was like, we have no more options. This is it. But now I look back and it pisses me off that we had to go through all of that to even try. Why could we not have failed a couple drugs and they said, okay, you know what, here's an option, let's try this.
Natalie was having about 600 seizures a week, all kinds of seizures, from
continuously night and day, or just
all day long, all night long. I
Wow.
actually used to set my alarm clock for every 30 minutes at night,
gosh.
so I could get
Wow.
up and look at her to see, how she was doing. She was 8 months old when we first saw her have a seizure, and she had a full onset grand mal seizure at the time, and we lived in Alabama then. And she went to the Children's Hospital in Alabama, and the doctor there just said, "There's nothing I can do to help you. Your daughter has a rare type of epilepsy. We can't treat her. Go spend as much time with her as you can. Like, she's gonna die." We're from Missouri, so we moved back to Missouri because I'm familiar with Cardinal Glennon and the health care that they have for kiddos. Got her in to see Dr. Goretzky, and so from not supposed to be able to live out the year, now she's going to be almost 9. And in the last month, she hasn't had any seizures at all. So with Natalie's intractable epilepsy, her epilepsy keeps her little brain like in a vice grip. It doesn't let her brain function, like to speak or to have relationships or interactions. She could not sit here and have an interaction with you. So in the last month, she started to like movies. Like, we watched Finding Dory, and she laughed. She was so interacted with this movie that she actually laughed at this character, which is for us is new territory, She's interacting with us. She'll look at us now and be like, "Mommy," and "Daddy, come here, Daddy." Like, her vocabulary is expanding, where she had 3 or so words she could say. I mean, we're just hearing new words every day now. So now that she's able to start doing things more and more that other kiddos would do, it's not so much about the quantity, but it's more becoming about the quality of life that she'll have, which is, I mean, we can't replace that. It's irreplaceable.